Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Biz Dev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I am David Baxter, your host, and I am here with Touch of Gray for Men client, Gary Voigt. How's it going, man?
Touch of gray or touch for gray? What did you say?
Touch of gray. You know the thing, get your just a little gray in your beard, just so you can look a little more manly.
If I needed that to look a little, well, I wouldn't say more manly, maybe a little older, but.
Hey, here's a fun fact. Speaking of gray, Bill Clinton, when he ran for president back in whenever that was, early 90s, he added touch of gray into his hair so he would look more distinguished. He added gray to his hair. So he would look older because he was so young when he ran. When he left office, he no longer needed to do that.
Yeah.
It was all white.
As the case for most.
So we are going to be talking today with John Starke, the CEO of MyMatR. Is that correct? Am I saying that right? MatR?
That is correct, yes.
Yes, rock on. Okay, we're going to talk about MyMatR in a little bit, but I wanted to dive in. We finished our series. So, John, we've been doing a little series with our guests for the last 5 episodes on time management. And so I feel like I've put a little bow on that, and I'm moving into my next series, and this might not be a good series, so you might be the one and only, but I'm going to ask you, John. You have, and I saw when I was reading a little bit about your company, you have 5-ish employees. Is that correct?
So we have right now 2 full-time people,
2 full-time, okay.
including myself. But I am a big proponent of hiring interns and getting people experience in the real world. So I've gone through a lot of hiring processes for interns.
Okay, perfect. So hiring interns, oh man, okay, that's a different conversation. But so my question is, and this is what I was thinking about. I was telling off before we started recording. I was at a Chamber of Commerce meeting last week, and they asked this question. It made me think about it. So I wanted to ask a few of my guests. What are traits you look for when you are hiring someone? And I'm not talking about, let's put aside that can they do the job? Are they qualified? Put that on the side. What is it that makes you hire or turn away from either a full-time employee or an intern? It doesn't really matter because these soft skills, I would think, are universal. So John, what are some that you look for specifically?
So the one thing I really look for is enthusiasm, because I believe that if you are enthusiastic, you can learn anything. It doesn't matter what your background is, what your degree is, due to the nature of our technology with being able to go onto the University of YouTube, you can go off and learn anything. It's just, are you enthusiastic, and are you going to spend the time to go learn what you need to learn to get the job done?
The University of YouTube. That's great.
On our side, I always tap into passion. I call that passion. Yeah. Do you have a passion? So in development land, if you're not a tinkerer, you're probably not going to enjoy what we do, because that means development is one of those things that can't be a punch in, punch out kind of thing. You got to really love it. Mm-hmm. So in our word, we would call that passion, but I love that, the enthusiasm. There's a book that I read. Is being very generous. It's like 30 pages long. It is the 5 C's, and I'm going to mess these up. I'm not going to remember them all. I'll bring the book in a future episode. But the 5 C's of hiring, look that up. I'll just plug it for now. It's like $3 on Amazon, but it's a wonderful book, and it was originally written for pastors when they're hiring other pastors and stuff like that. But it's totally universal. It has nothing to do with necessarily hiring a pastor. Like, one of them is calling, chemistry, competency. There's 3 of them, and there's 2 more, and they're just amazing things. And they give you practical questions in the book to ask to your prospective hire. It's a way to dive in and ask really great interview questions. So I'm not here to plug the book. It's a really good book. I've used those questions in the past. Anything else besides enthusiasm, or is that the number 1 for you?
That's the number 1. Definitely work experience is important. I am someone who went through college and I didn't have the best grades, but I just kept taking classes because I love to learn. And, I think in the future, people are really going to be paying attention to what's not your GPA, but what's your portfolio look like? What have you accomplished? What have you done? Have you built some neat app on the side in your free time? Have you explored new avenues and, improved your skill set really? So definitely experience is a big thing, but it really comes down to getting that skill set down. What are your basic skill sets that can be used?
So if you're, I mean, in development land, that works, right? I can tell somebody, hey, I don't care where you went to school. I want to see what you've done. That works in the creative fields. But if I'm an accountant, what does that mean? I mean, I guess you have to check that box of
But I mean,
schooling.
at the same time, it's like you can go and learn double entry bookkeeping online, and it's better, if you have a degree to back that up and it shows that, hey, you've really gone through the years of schooling. But if you can show me as an artist or as a welder or somebody who is able to get their hands dirty, or even people just working in software, it's like if you can show me what you've done and you know the work that you've created, it's like, all right, maybe I can, take their skill set and then expand on what they already know that will tailor to the company.
Yeah, totally understand that. I mean, it's kind of like if you're a startup and you're raising money, which I know when I was doing my research, you guys went through NC Idea. You got some money
Yeah,
from
we
that?
went through the NC Idea micro program, and we ended up being finalists in the
Okay.
seed program as well.
The next
Yeah.
stage. Cool. So one of the things I've heard about people who've raised money, and when we've worked with those who have raised money, a lot of times they're not raising money for the idea that they're currently working on. It's the team. And it's kind of the same thing you're saying when you're hiring is I might not necessarily be, depending on the role, of course. If I'm hiring a senior X, Y, and Z, then obviously you've got to be amazing at it. But if you're hiring kind of a junior thing or you're kind of going outside of the box, hey, who are you as a person? Can I mold you into what I need you to be? It sounds like it's something you're talking about there.
Yeah, I mean, right now, my sales director, he's fresh out of college, and he has an incredible amount of enthusiasm, but he doesn't have the years of experience. It's just the nature of being 22. So the fact that he has all this
Right.
enthusiasm and he can bring it to learning how we're going to go out and get sales, get customers engaged. I mean, it's going to take time, but it's something that, I'm willing to work with him on improving not just his abilities, but my sales abilities as well.
There's one thing to be said about someone with little experience in that field as well. They don't have bad habits that
Yep.
they've developed over the years. They don't have go-tos and standbys that they use as crutches. They kind of have a new approach to it, which if you're learning sales as well, like as a team together, that might actually be helpful for both of you.
Well, and through the journey that I've gone, which I guess we'll talk about in a bit, but I'd love to get information from the people who do have that touch of gray and who have spent years learning about sales. And so
Right.
I love going to and talking to consultants who have spent years in their fields because their information and their experience is incredibly valuable.
All right, John. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about your company, MyMatR? What type of business is it, and how did you get it started?
So MyMatR is in the business of designing and manufacturing automatic sorting waste containers for public spaces. The system works by you walk by the device, you throw something in, it will identify what that object is and sort it into trash or recycling. Additionally, it will tell the users or the collection service how full the containers are getting so that they can come and empty them when they are getting full. And it provides a lot of data in real time to the organizations that own them about what type of waste is being discarded. Are you seeing a lot of soda bottles in this waste container? Are you seeing a lot of Chick-fil-A bags? So it provides a picture of everything that's deposited to the customers.
So wait.
I have questions.
Can you actually tell if there's a Chick-fil-A wrapper?
So there is a camera in the device, and it takes a picture of anything that's put into the device, and it will analyze using AI to determine, hey, is this trash or recycling? And the rules of recycling
Uh-huh.
change from location to location. We have the ability to adjust what goes into recycling. Some organizations don't want to have glass in their recycling stream. Sounds weird, but they may just not be able to take it. So we have a very customizable system in both what can be deposited into trash and recycling, as well as how does this container look? How big do you want the container to be? How do you want it to look on the outside? Do you want to put advertising on the side of it?
But it's okay. So I'm going to press because I'm just fascinated by this. Are you adept enough to say that these are McDonald's wrappers, or is it just foil?
So
container?
at the current stage of our AI, it will say trash wrapper. We're working
Gotcha.
towards to the level of saying, hey, somebody threw a plastic bottle away. This is a plastic bottle that has Coca-Cola branding on it. It has the lid on or off of it. There's something inside the plastic bottle that's not, Coke. Maybe it's someone shoved a candy wrapper inside the plastic bottle. That is possible, but we're currently at the stage of just basic, hey, is this trash or recycling?
That's still so cool. So
that is cool.
And that's done with one camera. I'm just imagining I'm just chucking this thing in, and this thing bounces 4 times off the sides, and your one camera catches enough as it blurs by.
So interestingly enough, we have a whole process of being able to make sure we get a nice, clean, clear image. In the past, we have certainly had a lot of blurry images. But yeah, it's one camera.
High speed cameras. One camera. Is it taking like super high speed shutter
no,
rates and
it's
putting stitching the image together?
No, it's actually off the shelf $10 Raspberry Pi camera.
So my guess is you've got some sort of process that they throw the thing in and it bounces around a little bit, but eventually it goes through a very small thing that you get to control and it goes down slowly.
So no, the way it works is that we have a box. We have the
we're just idiots.
Oh no, it's all right. We have a container that's built in such a way where there's a box essentially above 2 waste containers, a trash and recycling container. So a lot of people like to say, hey, John, what's in the box? Well, inside this box is what we call our sort box. And that's where the lights and the camera and all the action happens, where we, take a good picture of whatever's been deposited. And, we've designed this in such a way where it's supposed to be, hey, you walk down Main Street, you're at RDU Airport, and you're busy, you're just walking by, you got to throw something away. You may not be thinking about, is it trash or recycling? So this will take care of that for you. It will ensure that the item will get properly recycled. But a lot of people like to throw a bunch of things away at the same time. And we recognize that we can't sort 5 different things at once. We have to make a decision. And we put that up to the customer to say, do you want to reduce your recycling contamination, or do you want to divert more materials from the landfill? Are you willing to take some recycling contamination? Some people are. So we really want to make sure the customer, it solves their problem. That's the whole point of this company, is to really help solve the customer's problem.
So how did you come up with this idea? Where did the impetus come from? Were you just seeing a lot of contaminated recycling bins, I could do this better? Where did the idea
so the idea really came from, I like to drink soda and Gatorade, and I had a lot of metal cans and plastic bottles, and I thought, okay, I've got to be able to capture some sort of value from this. So the idea originally started with, how do I develop a device for in home that people could throw away metal, glass, plastic, whatever they want to throw away, and it would automatically sort it for them. And then, an Uber-like collection service comes around and picks up their waste and delivers it directly to the recycling mills. So the cans would be going directly from a house to, a place where they'll melt down the aluminum. As I further learned about this industry, it's like, okay, that device is a little bit more challenging to do due to the cost of everything, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. But we found that public spaces is really the way to enter into this market. As I've heard from many waste managers and sustainability coordinators, away from home recycling is atrocious, and it can only get better.
I love the idea of it. So where are you in your process? I know you've raised a little bit of money. I saw that you have some out in the wild. Are you in prototype stage? Are you in full blown? Let's rock this thing. Where
I
are
would
you guys
like to
at?
say that we are about to enter full blown. Let's rock this thing. We've been flying under the radar. Yeah,
That's
we've
official,
been
by the way.
flying under the radar for a while,
Trademark.
simply because we really want to make sure it's not just the product, but it's the entire system behind the product. How do people interact with the device? Both, everyone just discarding waste, the waste collectors, the managers, the VPs. Like, we want to make sure everybody who is going to be involved in this device, is getting what they want. And there's a lot of back end systems that we had to set up as well and understand, like, hey, how do we get this AI model accurate? So we are definitely at the point right now where we are ready to go to market. We have some organizations that we're lining up to do some pilots. We've piloted in the past with other organizations, but those really were earlier generation models that we were trying to get the bugs worked out and figure out the flow process of how you go from discarding an item to all the way to data analysis.
How I have so many questions because it's just such an interesting concept. Like, I throw away my Coke, right? And it's just spraying all over the place because it's half full. How does it not gunk up all your gear?
Yeah, so first of all, why are you throwing away half a Coke? I mean, just what a waste.
My
Bad,
daughter,
David.
that's all she's gonna drink. That's it. She buys the whole Coke and throws half of it away.
So we've seen a lot of interesting things deposited into these waste containers.
Oh, I'm
Oh, I heard
sure.
As
that.
as one of as one of the guys on the team has coined the term goop. We've seen the Starbucks goop in there,
Oh
and
yeah.
so the system is designed to kind of be self-cleaning in such a way where the goop will kind of slide off into the trash side. But we recognize this is a trash can. It's dirty. It's disgusting. There is some maintenance required when it comes to the waste collectors come around and they can just wipe down the inside. But we really focus on not adding more work to their workload. But
Right.
um, we really tried to figure out how to engineer a good self-cleaning system to handle the goop.
Nice. So okay, so you're about to go with some prototypes out there. You've got a good product
Yeah.
now. Pat, you've gotten some good feedback. You're in that loop. So your goal is to sell to municipalities generally? Is that large companies?
Yeah, so the goal the goal really is, and we were talking about John Austin earlier with NC Idea, and he really likes to hit home and say, John, you can't sell to everyone. You gotta really fine tune that selling. And because I originally approached this with, well, we sell to people who want to reduce recycling contamination. That's really our biggest focus. But we have found that the people who focus on reducing recycling contamination are going to be the municipalities. There are some companies like BMW who we've piloted with who are very interested in the product, but you know municipalities have a lot more volume that they're going to be seeing in terms of recyclables, cans, and bottles. Universities as well. They've been a really great testing ground, but also they really focus on education. And we don't want to just supply a product that is this black box where people throw things away. We want to be able to provide feedback. So we've got a display screen on the device that helps both the collection service know how full it is, but also tells people, hey, what you just threw away went into recycling. These are how many items we've diverted from the landfill. Similar to those water bottle refilling stations, we want to make sure people understand the value of this device and the use it's getting.
It seems like that kind of feedback would actually encourage good habits, man. That's pretty cool.
I've noticed in my neck of the woods, I live up in Wake Forest, and they have replaced all of the municipality things downtown,
Mm-hmm.
the normal trash bins, with these. They have a funny name. I can't remember
E
what they are, but
Cube,
basically,
Big Belly.
nope, Big Belly.
Yes.
That's it, Big Belly. And it's really interesting. Like, they don't do what you do. They're
Right.
basically a solar powered trash compactor.
Right.
That's their whole thing. But it's like there's 6 or 7 of these guys out there, all doing different things, but they're all competing because there's really only one trash can, right? I don't need 6 trash cans. It's one municipality buying all their trash cans, right?
Right. Actually, we have piloted with Wake Forest. We got a lot of great feedback from them, and they have said that they are interested in the device. But we were at a point where we didn't have exactly what they wanted, and so we had to go back to the drawing board and adjust a bit. But yeah, the big bellies, those are devices that are geared towards reducing the size of the waste essentially by compaction. So they can essentially, you can get more volume inside of a waste container. That was their entire focus. We like to,
Which makes
yeah,
sense.
we like to say that we're the next generation of smart waste container, where we're doing this automatic sorting inside of the box.
So next you got to sort it and squish it. There's version 4.
So we've talked to a lot of people, and it was interesting to hear feedback regarding compaction. But people certainly do like the sorting aspect. So that's really where the focus is right now.
So you mentioned earlier that you're looking for a sales assistant, and then you were also trying to learn sales. So is that the phase that you're moving forward with now, is just trying to get this product out to more and more companies through a sales process? Or are you trying to start like a networking process just to get people to see the device?
We have a small network. We are going to be exhibiting at the Carolina Recycling Association conference in Wilmington in late March. And that's a pretty big recycling conference in this area. And we were there last year. We were there the year before. But we are growing our network. And as I said earlier, we've been kind of flying under the radar because we want to make sure we're solving the customer's problems. And there's a lot of problems in getting this technology put together. A lot of moving parts and a lot of non-moving parts that require attention. But I have a sales director now, and he's been incredibly helpful in figuring out how do we grow our pipeline, how do we get out there more. Right now we're in a position where our website we know is not up to date, and that's a big push that we're doing in the next month and a half to update the website for people to really make sure that they understand what it is we are offering.
So one of the things we talk about a lot is a concept we call the slog. The slog is the stage of every startup, every business that you have created a product, you're ready to go, and you're proud of it, and you get it out there, and no one cares.
And how much slog did you spend on the goop?
Stop it. How long are you feel like you're still in the slog, that you're trying to explain why you're better, or are you starting to see some traction? Like, it usually takes a year or two to really get through that and start creating your own gravity, where people start saying, hey, that product, that's awesome, let's do this. Are you feeling that slog? Because in my opinion, that's one of the most tiring parts of creating a new company.
So I think we're nearing the end of the slog. I think I'm pulling myself out of it, and I'm about to wash myself off of it. When it comes to burnout and all that stuff, I definitely can say that, the company and personally, I've been through a lot of ups and downs. They say burning the candle at both ends. I think it feels like the candle has been placed next to a big roaring fire, so the entire thing is kind of melting. But
just melting.
We're definitely towards the end of that, and it comes back to we've put devices out there, we've tested them, we've gotten the feedback, and you can't just sell this black box. It does these amazing things, but you really have to engage with your customers, and you have to make them understand and take a sense of ownership of this device. There's a lot of levels to waste collection that we found, and there can be a lot of outsourcing and contracting. And what we've learned from piloting with some organizations is, we need to make sure we understand who is in charge of this device and who is going to take responsibility. And that's been part of the slog. Whereas, that's not just the hardware, that's a service aspect. And this whole entire company has been dealing with hardware, software, and kind of a service aspect as well.
I love that. It's so nice. We've talked to guys all over the spectrum, as it were, to people who are about to get into the slog, to people who've been out of it for 20 years, right? And remembering the slog, and they kind of shudder a little bit. But you're kind of one of the first, and Gary, correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's right on the cusp of getting out of it. And so it's like you're a little more optimistic. You're not quite so beaten down. And because it's like you always see the brand new puppies who are about to go into the slog, and then you see old men coming out of it, right? It's like Bill Clinton we were talking about before. That's gray hair.
Considering where you are and where you're planning on going so far, what are the top 3 pieces of advice you can give an entrepreneur or new business starting up based on your experience?
Run. I mean, no, not that. I would say the number one thing that stands above all else is you need to find a problem and you need to fall in love with the process of solving it. I absolutely love what I do now because I did enjoy my last engineering job. I had a lot of variety. I'm someone who likes variety, but I have even more variety now, and sometimes it's overwhelming. But if you really want to be happy, in life when working, you want to be able to be in love with what you do. So, and as a founder, you're going to be doing a bit of everything. So kind of get used to the variety early on. I would say that's my number one thing. Number 2, talk to as many people as possible. I have very supportive parents. And my mother has been kind of since day one that I've been doing this, just going out and absorbing information like the sponge she is. And she's been incredibly helpful in improving, my knowledge base. And then my father is just always reminding me to go out and eliminate your blind spots and talking to people, advisors, friends, families, people who like the idea, people who hate the idea. I don't care. Tell me your thoughts. I want to hear it. So as an entrepreneur, like you're in the thick of things all the time, and you need to hear just from a bunch of different people what they think from the outside, especially.
Not to interrupt, because I know you have number 3, but I have to ask the question: what do your parents do? Because they sound amazing. Most parents have no idea what you're doing, much less be able to offer that kind of advice. That's awesome.
It's a benefit.
Is your dad John Austin? Is that what's happening here?
That's what it
is. My parents, I don't want to say they're retired, because my dad says he'll never retire. He's that type of guy who always just wants to find something to do, and mom she being an only child, I get a lot of attention. So good and bad.
Well, they give great advice. That is good advice. Kudos to the parents.
And it's great that you have 2 kind of cheerleaders and I guess you can say like consultants in your pocket at all times.
There are some disadvantages with the parents being on the board of directors, but that's a moot point. I wouldn't be where I am today without them. But the third item, so the company's a journey, and the journey comes from an idea, and that idea comes from you, the founder. Well, be ready to analyze all 3 of those levels, because you're going to want to, and especially the self level, because you're going to be analyzing, okay, what's the next important thing to do in the company? How we have limited resources, how do we optimize? You're going to want to analyze the idea. I mean, this started out, as I said, a device where people can have it in their homes, and I went out and designed a miniaturized industrial grade shredder because I thought, people would want to have their waste shredded. No. So the idea needs to be analyzed from time to time. But more importantly, like, you got to analyze yourself. I mean, this has been definitely a big growing process for myself, not just the company. I'm a big fan of the confidence curve, also known as the Dunning-Kruger effect, I believe, where there's you get the high, you get to a point where you think you know everything, and then you realize, oh boy, I don't know anything. And then you start to realize, no, I know some stuff. I'm coming out of the valley of despair.
Yeah, the more you know, the more you realize there's more to learn.
Yeah.
So it's that constant cycle.
And you really need to do that self-analysis and figure out, like, really early on, especially early on, figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then find people who can help you with your weaknesses. Maybe it might be as simple as outsourcing your marketing, because you might be an introverted engineer who doesn't want to talk to people as much. But at the same time, go back and analyze yourself over over the course of, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, whatever interval makes sense, because as you grow and the company grows, you're going to realize, oh, I may not have that weakness anymore. I mean, I love talking to customers now. I don't like cold calling. I will never like cold calling, but I love talking to customers. But when I first started, I was very scared. It was just something I wasn't as comfortable with as I am with the technology.
Yeah, being able to transform a bit is what we hear that a lot from other entrepreneurs and small business owners, is you go in with a passion to do one thing and then quickly realize that you're also responsible for everything else. So you have to kind of morph into those things. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, though, your future a little bit here, because right now you're wearing a lot of hats and you're doing hats you don't want to. But the future is that you're going to start unloading those hats and you're going to be handing those hats to other people. And the first thing you're going to want to get rid of are the things you hate doing, because if you hate doing them, if you find someone who does love doing them, then they're going to be much better at it than you are.
Right.
And you're going to be giving that hat. You'll happily give that hat away. But the real hard one is in the future. And this is where we talked about time management a lot in the last several weeks. The hard one is when you give away the hat of the things you love to do, because now you have other things you have to do as the leader. You have other things that only you can do. So now the engineering or the stuff that you really love, you've got to hand that off. And that's really hard, but that's coming. And it's a weird thing, but it's very cool, because then you find that you love other things, right? It's just morphs your day to day. But I would say, if I were giving advice to someone in your position, it would be to, as soon as you can, as soon as it is viable, right? Sometimes you got to wear all the hats, but as soon as it's viable, delegate what you hate. And find that nerd who loves it, right? Find the accountant, right, who loves those numbers or whatever, or find that sales guy who just loves talking to people, right? Find that person and hand that hat off. And that's a really big jump in terms of productivity for you and your company.
Yeah, I mean, it ultimately comes down. I completely agree. It really, like, what pushes the company forward, and if I can find a better operations person or technical, engineer, then yes, by all means, like, we have to go and meet those milestones.
What was interesting to me, I cannot remember who it was, because that's not something I ever can do, but it was one of our guests, and they wanted a new CEO because they knew they weren't it. And that was like, man, that is some self-reflection right there. That is impressive. They're like, I'm not the leader. I'm the doer, and I'm going to promote up and stay the doer. And I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. Just really interesting how someone had that kind of humility, right? Because very few people are like, well, I'm not really good at this. I shouldn't be the leader. I am until they can replace me. I was like, wow, man. Anyway, so if we wanted to learn more about MyMatR and more about you and stuff, where would we find that?
Well, I would definitely say go to the website, but right now the website is a little bit out of date. So in the next month and a half, we're going to have a huge update to that, so that people can really understand, what it is we offer. But the website currently right now is MyMatR. That's MyMatR corp.com. Additionally, I mean, if anyone had any questions for me, I love questions. It comes back to eliminating blind spots. My contact is John, JOHN Starke, STARKE at MyMatRcorp.com.
And we're going to have links in the show notes to both your LinkedIn page and your website.
Well, all righty. Well, Gary, if they wanted to get in touch with us, how would they do that?
They can leave a comment or a question below this video on YouTube, or they can email us at hello@thebigpixel.net. Could also reach out to any one of our social media channels, even TikTok.
Thank you so much, John, for joining us. This has been really great, really interesting. I love your idea. I love the enthusiasm you're bringing. New founders are always a hoot to talk to. I said hoot. That makes me old. All right.
And from Texas. But I really like the idea and the concept behind the company. That sounds really cool. And I can see, once you do get that gravity and that traction, it seems like this isn't going to be the end of what you guys are doing. And it sounded like you have plans, or at least you didn't say it, but it seems like you have plans to kind of scale this up in multiple ways. So I'm looking forward to see how that goes for you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, man. We will talk to everybody next week.
Thank you.